Greetings, you watch But Her Developer channel. My name is Dima and I'm working on a big musician project which will help musicians, fans and everyone involved in the musician industry. In this video I'm going to talk about layout, theming or CSS. But first a disclaimer, I'm not a designer. Creating a beautiful and useful project is the biggest challenge for me at the moment. But very simple approaches that I will show will allow me to not be afraid of redesign in the future, and my things it's allow me to save my mind resources when I working on theming or layout, or makeup, call as you want. First rule for today, we should use Css preprocessors. In my opinion, the best choice for now is SCSS. But if you use something else, less or SAS, this is not a problem. I use SCSS in my projects. It is important to talk about preprocessors because now there is a position that CSS has grown enough to abandon preprocessors. Unfortunately, this is not the case. At least CSS is not good in Mixins. I'm going to start from scratch. Several global styles that you should set at the beginning of each project. I hope that everyone knows this, but practice shows this is not true, and for some reason it is difficult to find a guide for this on the internet. So the first thing you need to do globally is set border size border box to all elements and pseudo classes. It allows us to manipulate with width or heights, included padding and border size. So if we set some block with 100 pixels, it was 100 pixels no matter of padding or no matter of border size. This is a development standard. No one uses the default value because it is very inconvenient and almost impossible to support. It is standard for now only because of backward compatibility. Next, what we should do is set margin and padding of body to 0. Different browsers have different default margin and padding. They are not beautiful and nobody needs them, so set to 0. Next, we should set height and width to body. It is very important in modern development. It allows a browser to calculate sizing of flex boxes or grid boxes, or calculate some positions, for example, some centered element. So for height, we should set 100 dBH dynamic viewport height. It's set 100% of height, including some mobile nav bars and etc. and etc. It could fix many of your bugs. And we should say 100% for width. I know you want to set some viewport value here, 100 VW, but scroll bar will break your layout. In this case, you will have all scroll bars when you need only vertical scroll. And if you use Nuxt or other framework, you should set width and height for some app wrapper. By default in Nuxt is to underscore and Nuxt ID. We should set 100% for height and width. And next, not mandatory, but I strongly recommend you to remove style and margin padding from lists UL. And yeah, it is not necessary, but believe me, you will want to do it. Also remove style from links. In the same reason, you will want to do it. And please very careful, but we can remove outline from all focused elements. You should know outline is very important part of accessibility. And if you remove outline, please do something else in your elements. For example, shadows or border and etc. Or maybe your custom outline. I'm going to make another video for accessibility. This is all about base setup. Now I'm going to talk about media query, about desktop, tablet or mobile versions. And here I have a personal pain. Every time when I see a video or some lessons about CSS, lecture teachers over and over write some number, for example, media mixin with less or equal to 723. Looks like everyone is born with this knowledge, and I'm one unique and do not know this magic number. So, my simple recommendation, rate SCSS Mixins or all screen resolutions what you need. In my case is mobile, desktop and tablet, and now I can import or use this mixin in any my SCSS files or view files. Simple include media desktops and change styles only for desktop versions. And believe me, it is very useful. You and your team don't need remember these magic numbers. If you make some mistakes or you want to display mobile version or some small tablet, You need to change only one number or two number in one file, and icing on the cake, it is very simple to read. Media mixin max with some magic number, very hard to read and very hard to understand. But include media mobile, very easy to read and very easy to understand. One rule here, please write mixin only for resolutions what you use. It is a very often situation when people know about mixins, use as I say, but create a lot of mixins. Mobile XL, desktop XXL and etc, but use only 3 or 4. Remember, CSS is also code. Code should be reviewed, code should be supported, and code should be useful. If code not useful, remove it. It will save your time at least when your idea do some autocomplete proposition. Also, in this case, I very often see solutions when developers write media query in some separated classes, for example, hidden mobile, visible desktop. Yes, I use these classes too, but only for hidden, because it is very useful to read code when you see some class with name hidden mobile, and you know this block will not display in mobile, but in modern development it will not work with visible desktop, visible mobile, just because visible is not block display. It could be flags, it could be grid, it could be inline flags, and etc. And also very often you will need to change some direction, some ordering of elements without hidden or without displaying some specific elements. And in this case, mixin shows themselves perfectly. So go next. Very often you can see the situation when some element break your layout. You can see a horizontal scroll bar, and it is very hard to debug what element creates this scroll bar and why. So I can recommend a very simple solution for debugging. Simple. Create transparent background, 90% transparent, with some color green, for example, for all elements and pseudo classes. And now you can see borders of all elements, and it is very easy to debug and find what element break your layout. Very simple, and I really recommend you to save this code in your main CSS file, but comment and uncomment it when you need it or your team need it. And if we talk about layout and overflowing, you know about CSS property overflow, and you always set it to hidden. I believe you set it to hidden. Overflow X hidden is very often practice, and you should know this create too much problems with makeup, with scroll bar, with debugging, and etc. One recommendation here: try new property overflow X, or no matter overflow clip. It will cut all overflowing styles, and even broken styles will look good on your project. In my mind, overflow clip is how overflow hidden should work from scratch. But go next. Now it's time to talk about main idea in this video, approach that allow you to make light, dark theme or any other theme without problems and make your life much more easy. But first I want to talk about support my channel. To be honest, $1 subscribe or even small donations can help my channel a lot, but it's all crap as long as the war is going on. Every fucking day Russians kill innocent people. Every fucking day they try to kill me, my family, my siblings, my loved ones. So if I was helpful, if you want to support my channel or me, please support Ukraine. Send some money to Ukraine volunteer foundations. Write a letter to your politicians with a requirement of support Ukraine. Or simple, dislike Russian propaganda, or skip Russian propaganda, or ban Russian propaganda. Say, I don't know how to find out Russians is lying. I can help you with an answer. Russian lie every time when he open his mouth. Please believe me, I live very close to war epicenter. I see with my own eyes how Russians kill children, and at the same time they write that Linux Torvald violates their rights. So please, if you want to support me, support Ukraine. Thank you. So go back to the code. And most useful things from this video is CSS custom property or CSS variables. Here important, CSS variables, not Sass variables, not less variables, not some others variables. Simple native CSS variables. We can describe CSS variables using two dashes, variable name and variable value. Usually we describe this in pseudo class with name root, but you can describe variable in any place in the project, but usually it does not make sense. You can ask me what to store in CSS variables. Almost everything in regular cases is to store colors, background color and text color for dark and light themes. And let's talk about colors, and I will go back to other variables. So for multiple theming, minimum what you need: background color, text color, and some class to switch theme from dark to light, or from many other themes. It should be HTML tag class or maybe HTML tag attribute. Yes, that's all what you need for multiple theming for light and dark themes. As you understand, I really like dark themes. Usually I work at night and I want to save my eye. So dark theme is important to me, and I believe that at least dark and light themes is a thing of respect for your users. And I got only one rule for dark theme: please describe dark theme as default, without any specific classes or attributes. This will save your user's eye from a white screen if something goes wrong, for example JavaScript not loaded. If we talk about colors, now you can see at the screen project from the developers that claim that it is enough only 4 colors for all your project. Even not colors, 1 variables is enough for all your project. 4 colors calculated by a circle of colors. Unfortunately, it is not work on complex project like mine, but it can make sense for you. You can find the link on the description from this video. And I use for theming Nuxt color mode package. I know that if you use have analog, but as for me, color mode work a little bit better, so I can recommend you to use Nuxt or Vue color mode package. So if you hear about dark themes is ecology friendly, saves of energy and etc., you should know it is fake. Not fully fake, but in most cases. For saving electricity, you should use specific very expensive monitor display, and the savings are very minimal. And some personal story. I have a client with panda as mascot, and of course I need to create a dark and light theme. Believe you guess, but yes, in mascot colors. Okay, it's very easy to create a panda theme in dark mode, but try to create panda theme in light mode. And I managed this. Unfortunately, I can show you because of NDI, and I don't have access for today. Go back to CSS custom properties. Also, I recommend you to save font size into CSS properties, but please create one main font size in pixels for HTML and use rem for other font sizes. It allows you to change only one variables and scalable change all fonts in your application. And of course you should know about difference between pixels, rem and em. Rem is % of HTML size and em is % of parent element. And base font size, I recommend you to use 10 or 12 for multiple dividers. I use 10 because it clearly understands that one rem is 10 pixels. And if we talk about font size, I recommend you to create indent base variable in rem. Use not only in paragraph indent, but in all project when you have text. For example, in button, in or inputs and etc. Make your layout more flexible. When you change font size, it change button size, input padding and etc. and it will look more natural. Also store in CSS variables or spaces or gaps, border type, color, border radiuses. I recommend you to store that indexes just for easy use that index. Developers don't need to think what he should write 999 or 2 or -1. Also store sizes of specific UI elements, sidebar in my case. Now you can see CSS variables what I use for my project, and I know it is not full list. I need some gap and spaces, but there won't be many of them. But why CSS variables? Why not regular Sass variables, for example? I remember the dark ages when we use Sass variables for theming. How it's work? We create 2 different CSS files, one for light theme, second for dark theme. And yeah, user should load all CSS file if he want to change theme, usually with page reloading. but CSS custom properties already on the client. We just switch class, not load anything. And because this all on front end, your user, your community can redesign your project as they want, and you don't need to create some specific interface for this. They can create simple Chrome extension and share their design for other users. And this is a killing feature for me. Really, I hope I will have a community that can help my project better, not only for me, but for many people. And of course, CSS var has a problems. The main problem, we cannot use a CSS variable in a media query, and not so important, we cannot use CSS variables in some Sass functions, for example light, dark, and etc. But it is not really important, just calculate once and use anywhere. And I should talk about naming, CSS var naming. It is very important. Start with name of CSS property, color, text size, that index, and etc. It's allow you and your team much more faster navigate between code. You just enter var -- call, and IDE say you have these color variables. Second word, if you need should what, you use a size of what, of a font, sidebar, and etc. And very important, very important, last part should be abstract name. Abstract. Please do not use font size of 15 or background color yellow. Abstraction is very important here. Without abstraction you will got Tailwind, and I hate Tailwind just because Tailwind not have abstraction. Also almost forget, we can get CSS custom property from JavaScript, and this is very useful when we use some charts or use some external components. And yes, that's all what you need to write a good simply to support CSS. I only want to talk with you about class naming. You can see in the screen functionality of my application, of my layout for now, and I'm going to demonstrate some CSS code for these components. I believe this layout, it cannot be called simple because he have animation, mobile, tablet, and desktop version is different, but if you look at the code you can see very simple teeny code. This is possible because I use component base pattern, and when we talk about naming, naming some specific class in some component, maybe, just maybe, it is a good practice to name this class as component name. It would be a really unique class name with domain right name. And for subclasses I use a block element modifier naming convention, or simple use to underscore and specific name. So now component base button should have class base button and subclass base button icon. For example, if you have a problem with naming subclasses, for example you have a header title, and header title subtitle left, right, and etc. It's very clear indicator that you need to separate this block to separated component, yes, even without reusing, just for simplify your code, simplify your component. And my personal advice for BAM naming convention, please stop using shortcut for class naming. I'm talking about this ampersand, underscore, and some class suffix. Let me explain please. The idea of unique class names, why I hate Tailwind and say you should name your classes unique, because of search. You got some bug on production. In production you don't have any toolbars and etc. So you do one simple thing. You find element where this bug reproduce, copy class name, make search on project, and one click you on the right component. And as fast as you can find component class, component styles. Of course, if you don't use these shortcuts. I'm talking only about naming shortcuts, only about ampersand and suffix. And yes, this syntax ampersand and suffixes turned away many developers from using BAM methodology or BAM naming convention. And yeah, when we use class-based component, we can make mistakes. Components allow us not strongly use BAM naming convention. And believe me, you will make mistakes. You will copy some elements and forget to rename class name. And only refactor or only review will fix this. But it was not critical if you use scope scoped component styles or isolated component styles. And sorry, but I have to say use scoped component styles. It is very often mistakes what I see in junior and even in the senior development. If idea not write a scoped tag, developer forget about this and simply writes this code. It is very bad, very bad. It's make component styles global. If for example you create some class name with abstract modifier name active, all your active classes in other components will be the same style as this active. Of course we can talk about cascading, but no matter. Simple rule, all component styles should be isolated. Here I see a reason to answer questions from comments. What if we don't use component base pattern? What if we use old school big CSS files with all classes inside it? And yeah, here you should use some CSS methodology. There is many of them, but I have good experience only from block element modifier BEM. BEM it's not only for naming convention, it's a lot of rules. How to store, isolate, how to separate some code in some separated CSS files, and etc. and etc. And of course you can use any other methodology. I can talk about only BEM because I only with BEM have experience, good experience if you want. So yeah, this is the answer. If you don't use a component base, you should use some other methodology, some CSS methodology. And yeah, I want to talk about a few things not strongly from styles, but very close, because I don't want to record separated small video for this feature. First of all, you should know that favicon it's not simple one size icon on your browser. In modern development we can use progressive web application, we can use our website in some simple navigation panel, for example in macOS. So what do you need? If you want to change favicon for your application or add a favicon for your application, simple, Google favicon generator, upload your image, download some zip file and use simple instruction. Just upload images to your project and connect manifest file. Also favicon generator will show how your icon looks on other devices. That's all about favicon. And next tip from me, it's about Nuxt, but I believe your framework can have some extension like this. I'm talking about Nuxt font extension. Very simple use. Install Nuxt font extension and use any font family what you want without uploading, without connection, and etc. This extension do everything for you, and of course this font will be uploaded on build stage. I got only 1 point for research this. In some cases we need lazy load fonts, for example for very heavy accent fonts, but for fast development this is very beautiful package, very beautiful extension. And the last for this video I want to talk about icon graphics. In my project I use a Nuxt icon extension. It's allow on the fly use very big library of icons from website Iconify.design. This extension automatically load all icons and load it on the build stage. But if your project have some unique icons, I have some tips for you. First of all, wrap all icons into components, set fill or stroke of icon to current color. It allows you to use text color or change icon color, and set width and height to 1 em, and it allows you to use font size as size of icon. My practice, it is most useful variant when you don't need to load SVG as component and etc. So this is all for today. I'm going to talk about design in a future video about accessibility and in a video about SEO optimization. It is okay if you don't like my variant, but you should know it could be worse, because I have nostalgic for the time when there was a website with makeup like real magazines. Beautiful times before mobile phones. So make beautiful makeup, support Ukraine, and thank you.